Destination mark.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here, and welcome to another video in the Connection series of discussion videos. So click right here for the last one I did on characters, players and characters. Today we're going to go over environments, so players and environments. Basically there's three things I want to go over: how the immersion in these environments work in games, the structure of said environments, and also the aesthetics of said environments, because all of those obviously play a huge part in making people love settings and environments in games. So basically I want to give a little bit of an intro first though on how I personally get immersed in, what I look for in environments and such. So you can also tell me what you guys think in the comments of how you get lost in environments and which kinds of environments and which kinds of games that you like, and what you think about those three things too: the structure, the aesthetics, and the immersion. So let me know about that in the comments, and here we go. So for me personally, two kinds of environments that I like are linear and open world. So this automatically plays into structure, but for me personally, let's use these examples as we always do. Crash and Spyro, they fit those pretty much perfectly. With Crash, he's linear, and of course the old school Crash games, they are what we like to call hallway linear. Like you only have your one path and you go down that path. But of course with the way they've structured everything in terms of enemy placement, obstacle placement, and crate placement, they've made it to where you're not just going in a straight line. And that was something that they were worrying about from the get-go when they were first designing the levels, and before they thought of crates. Players during the testing phases were just blazing through the levels without much to really stop them besides the enemies. So you want, automatically right there, you want a lot. That's what collectibles are for. And because collectibles in 2D games are still pretty simple, you can make some really crazy secret stuff that have a lot of collectibles and all that. But when you're talking about like a 3D game, you can get away with more, since it is in fact 3D. Even if it's still linear, you can still do a lot with that. And the way they put in the crates and everything, it's there so you don't blaze through it, you stop and you can have other things to do. And a lot of those things, if you want to go for 100%, you need to do. You need to grab or smash or collect or destroy or whatever the case is. And again, it's very simplistic, but there is still, and to kind of skip to another step for a brief minute, it does immerse you because there is still a lot of atmosphere, and that just goes to the detail. And see, they all kind of link together because aesthetically there's a lot going on and it's very atmospheric. That just goes with the amount of detail you can pack into your game, and it immerses you because of the aesthetics and the structure. Like I just said, it's simplistic, yet it does get difficult with having to time your jumps, having to time whatever, and it makes for a really good experience. It's a really fast, simple game to where you can beat it in about an hour if you know what you're doing. But for me personally, being a huge Crash fan, it's always fun going through the first game. Not so much as speedrunning it, but just going through it. I'm pretty quick. If you've seen my walkthrough, so I guess link down below. I'm pretty quick at beating this game in one go, and it only takes me about a good hour or so to do it. With Spyro, it's a little different, and it won't take me that short of a time, only 1 hour, to beat the game. But what I like about Spyro is that it's broader, it's more broad. I don't know if broader is a word. It's more broad, it's more wide. And you would think, well, wouldn't that be a little more empty or vacant in a way, because there's so much, you can only pack so much into especially when you're talking about the old school games at the time. You can only pack so much into the game before it starts like chugging or anything. Like, how is it that these games run at a consistent frame rate if there's a whole lot of stuff going on at once? Well, that's why Spyro has open space in terms of anything you see down below. The detail will stop at a certain point. There's ways to go around it. I don't know the technical stuff. Actually, I said that in a last take. Sorry. Let me kind of reiterate something. I've done multiple takes of this video. I'm obviously attacking this from a player perspective and not a designer perspective, because I am not a game designer. Not yet. I want to be. I have lots of ideas for games, but this is purely from a player perspective. So I don't want to get technical or anything. I'm not going to, because I don't really know the technicalities from this. But let's wait for the frickin' phone to stop ringing. Somehow, with the old school Spyro games, Insomniac found a way to get around putting in a lot of detail, but yet not putting a lot of detail, because the detail actually kind of comes and goes. What I mean by that is that you've had to have seen this if you played Spyro. When you see some giant structures in the background, like buildings and such, or mountains or whatever, that you can actually go to, when you're looking at them from a distance, they look like they don't even have any textures on them, and that's because they actually don't have any textures on them. The textures load in and come in into better view and look better when you get closer to it, and that's just to save like space and whatnot. And with that being said, like I was trying to say earlier, when you fall, you'll see that you just kind of fall into a void. Well, they can't really put a whole lot of space, down there. There's already so much being rendered out and being loaded in for you to see in the main level itself. I'm pretty sure that may or may not be how it works. Again, what do I really know? I'm not much of a designer, but that's kind of how I think that that was their way of like, well, we can put a whole lot into this game, but for it to stay at a constant frame rate and not load everything at one time and make it just crash or whatever, no pun intended, we were just talking about crash, that was a dumb joke. There's ways they could, there's loopholes that they found, and there's ways they could get around that kind of stuff, which is really cool and innovative. So yeah, but the basic thing here, one of the things I wanted to mention though, with that being said, is that not on the tentacles, on the creative side, Spyro is different from Crash because what they really do, I mean Crash does this too, but what Spyro really does, it's very, very, clear and abundant in Spyro, is that they've clearly built the environment and the level design and all that around Spyro's abilities. Being a dragon, you can fly, you can charge, and you can flame. So having to fly off to distant, platforms or other structures or places and using the supercharge ramps and all that, that's really cool. And to just be flying around everywhere, both like actually gliding or flying around when you like zoom off a ramp from a supercharge, it's really freaking fun. And there are challenges that come with all of that stuff. So basically it's something of a jungle gym for your character to run around in and just do however you want to do. So I think that's really cool because, yeah, let the player kind of make their own little fun there and find the challenges by just exploring and doing whatever the fuck, basically. With Crash, again, it's more, not so much as constricted, but it is more crushed down into a simplistic form to where you can still do a lot. He really just kind of jumps and spins, but when you spin away enemies or jump on enemies or find the crates that you need to spin to destroy, I don't know, they did a pretty good job with, again, the placement of those enemies. It's much more straightforward, whereas Spyro isn't. So that's why I think it's really cool, because Spyro is open world and Crash isn't. It's more linear. But the basic thing I'm trying to say here is that build the environments around what the characters can do and their abilities. It won't be, at least the way I see it, it won't be like so helpful if you built the characters around the environment. If you came up with the environments first and then put a character in there, that might work. I'm not gonna say that no one's done that before, but I think it's much clever if you had your character first and then you came up with the aesthetics of the environments and whatnot, and how that would look based off of the character you have, and then basing the level design and all of that around what the character can do. That's why I love Spyro so much, because it's crazy how they were able to even first off achieve that on the PS1 back in the day, because that was something no one ever really saw before, and number two, the way they did it was so clever, and just the fact that Spyro's a dragon, he can do all these things like flying and all of that, and they built a lot of cool puzzles, clever puzzles, difficult puzzles to figure out places to like where to go and all that for some hidden gems and what have you. They built all that around him flying on and all of that, and that's really cool. So now with the aesthetics, and I'll also be talking about color schemes and all that as well. The reason why I don't care a whole lot for, besides the obvious being the gameplay in your game, in your dark and gritty game, one of the reasons why I don't necessarily care for a whole lot of games like the Dark Souls series or anything else that's just Call of Duty just being so gray and bland looking. Grays, blacks, and browns can be integrated nicely if you know when to use it. If that's your entire game is fucking beige and black, that's not a good color palette for your entire freaking game, for the environments. If it's just, now if it's like a desert, but there's lots of things going on in that desert with structures like lost relics from the past time, I don't fucking know, popping out of the ground, statue, like faces of statues and shit kind of just laying there all busted up looking. Like, if you make those colorful, like in terms of not looking so boring in terms of color, if you put a lot in your freaking environments, and that might make up for it. If it is just one basic color, like if you're in a desert or something, it's going to mainly be this kind of a brownish color because that's just the sand in a desert. But if you have like lots of other things to accommodate for the fact that it's just kind of this one place, then it might make it more lively. You don't want to just be like, I'm in a desert, it's boring, you know? Or one of the things that goes on in a lot of the Call of Duty games is you're in a city and it's mainly, if it's not cloudy, then it's just like gray and black. I don't know if I'm describing this right, but I hope you guys kind of see where I'm getting at. I'm not the best at explaining things, as you can see. There's a way that they've done it to where it does look pretty boring. And when you're limiting yourself to only a few choice colors for your environments and your aesthetics are basic ones, like, I don't know, I can't really speak a whole lot for it because I haven't played a whole lot of it. I can kind of speak for Bloodborne because I played a little bit of it at Weston's place one time. The gameplay was okay. It was kind of like a more, for me anyway, because I've heard some of the Dark Souls games and then Bloodborne being like a spin-off of all of that have different speeds in terms of just how your character controls, how fluid they are. I think for me Bloodborne was a little bit of a fast kind of a game, like sort of. For you being like a clunky dude who still kind of, his run speed was kind of slow. But while that was all fine and good, I just wasn't really caring for the environments because it was always gloomy, it was always like darker. The one thing I liked, and again, I'm not a huge fan, so don't get mad if I say anything wrong, or I'm not even going to send you, I don't even know the names of anything, I'm just going to like try to describe this as best as I can. There's this kind of alternate place that you kind of start in at the very beginning, and it is like, it's more of like a alternate realm looking place. We've got like a garden and it's all like the environment around you is all white and everything and it's all mysterious. That was actually kind of cool because there was a lot to look at and there's a lot of things that were different colors and whatnot, and the structure was basic, but you could explore and you could figure out where to go and not have someone nag at you at where to go, and that was kind of cool. But the rest of the game that I had seen, at least the beginning of the game from what I had seen, stuck to a lot of darker blues and with some fire here and there, so you know, orange and blue complement each other. But I don't really know. I wasn't really getting into the environment because it was like what, Victorian era or something era. It was more gothic, and I like that kind of gothic stuff sort of, but the way they presented it here, I just didn't care for really. So I mean, I don't know. If they made more things pop out, so there's more to look at as you're exploring, then that'd be kind of cool, because it just makes it feel more lively in a way. I mean, there are a lot of enemies / people there and what have you. There are a lot of, you know, there is a lot of detail and it is kind of nice detail, but again, with the color choice and all of that, it was weird and I didn't really care for it. So to kind of blend two aspects into one, it didn't immerse me because of the aesthetics. So if you want to immerse people in your environments, then what I'm really thinking is that you add a lot of detail and a lot of, you know, for the aesthetics, you add a lot of color and detail and don't make it so boring. And the other thing is structure. I forgot what it was. Structure. Really build the environments around what the character can do. So I don't want to go too far off on this video. That's kind of where I'm going to end it there. I don't have a whole lot. Obviously I didn't prepare for this. There's no rehearsing in these videos. But that's basically my 2 cents on that. Like, yeah, just environments are cool. Again, you can go simple, but you gotta know, how to do simple. They did it right with Crash. You can do a lot while still staying simple, and if you kind of take a look at how they did it for Crash, that's kind of the main example I would give. Or hell, let's talk about an actual 2D game that's, Geometry Dash. Random, it's not an adventure game, it's a rhythm game, but the environments there aren't even so much out of the way of environments, they're just backgrounds and shit. But you can, you can immerse people by putting a lot of detail in there. It's a very colorful game, and that kind of hits all the points actually. You get immersed because of, number one, the music, but number two, with the environments, how colorful they are, and how much detail you can pack into. Again, it's a simple game, and it's a simple game made out of simple shapes, with how you can create your levels and all of that, but you can do a lot with those shapes and with the colors and everything. You can really make it seem alive, and that's really cool. And you can build it around your little block dude, your little character. You have to build it around them because it's a rhythm game. So there you go, right there. That's actually a better example. I could have put this whole video down into just that example right there. It could be like a 3-minute video. Instead, I'm tripping. I said tripling. I'm tripping over my own words. I'm speaking too fast. I'm sweating again. What do you guys think of environments? How do you get immersed? What do you think of environments with their structure, with their aesthetics, and how they build them around the character? Do they even build them around? Just don't be Bubsy 3D. That's all I have to say. That's my grand note that I'm ending on. Just don't be like Bubsy 3D. It does all of that wrong. You can't get immersed. The aesthetics are gross to look at. The textures are vomit-inducing. And it's clearly not built around the character of Bubsy. And that also goes into the control scheme. So maybe the next one might be about control schemes for this Connections series of discussion videos. Maybe. I have a couple of them, that I've written down in a list that I'll be going over eventually on the channel. But yeah, environments, basically, if you just want to skip to right here, if you don't want to hear me be an idiot, environments need to immerse you, and how they do that is by structure, meaning they are built mainly around the character and what they can do, and make it just a big ass jungle gym of go collect stuff, go explore, go defeat enemies, it's all good. And if it's really cleverly designed like Crash or Spyro, you're gonna have a good time. Also, the aesthetics should be crazy, in terms of like crazy detail, crazy, not so much as shit happening everywhere, like Bubsy, but, really crazy in terms of like, wow, it looks really good, it looks really nice, and the color choice, the palette, make it eye-popping, make it, really catch the player's attention, and that will immerse them. So there you go. Yeah, so I'm gonna stop rambling. What do you guys think? What are your kinds of games and environments from those games that you like? Be it Crash, be it Spyro, be it Rayman, Sonic, whatever the case is, let me know. But yeah, I'm Marcelo, I'll see you guys later, and take care.